Has anybody ever questioned if God exists?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have. So in my late 20s, I started going to this winter festival called Snowdown in Durango, Colorado. And I would have the best time. I would meet my friend Pete, who lived there. I'd drive out from Los Angeles, and we would ski. I'd meet new friends, and the highlight was always the team trivia contest slash costume contest slash beer drinking contest. And we were always all right, pretty good at the trivia, but we were great at the costumes. We'd win every year. So after a few years, I was very enthusiastic about this winter festival, and so I would try to invite friends to come and join me. And I think the third year, I asked my friend Eric if he would come, and Eric never said no to never said no to a party, a good time. And Eric was really my worst best friend. I've known him since junior high, and he'd always managed to, he had a big mouth. He's kind of a big guy, not big this way, but big this way, but he was terrible at a fight. So his big mouth would get him in trouble. So in junior high, he would, kids would come from other schools and say, "Myers, I heard you said this." And, then they proceed to beat him up. And I would think, how do these people even know him? It doesn't make any sense that, you only know the kids in your own school. So he would get beat up, and badly, and the kind of bad, he bled a lot everywhere, swollen eyes. You ever see The Champ? He's like John Voight in The Champ. But now we're in our late, we're 30 at this point. And so the idea of, this stuff is past us. And so Eric comes with me joins me and Pete in Durango, and we have a great time at Snowdown, and nothing weird happens. So we make it to the final night. I'm exhausted. I'm really desperate to get back to Los Angeles because I have to drive back and everything. The only reason that we're really out is because the trivia team made it really far into the competition. And so we had to stick around. We win the costume contest as usual. And but then somehow we're still the last people out of the bar. So we come out of the bar, and it's freezing. Snow everywhere. Still dressed in our costumes, just trying to get home. And we start walking home. We get about a half a block. There's nobody on the street. And around the corner comes 8 guys. And it's clear that you can feel they're aggressive and everything, and like they want to fight. But we can get out of this. All we really have to do is keep our head down and keep walking. So we keep walking. Everything's going all right. They start talking to us like, "Hey, what are you guys doing out?" Good questions. And we can still get out of this. We don't have to engage with them. We can keep walking down the road. But Eric says something. And then they turn. They cross the street. And they say, "What did you say?" And I turn to Eric and I think, you big dumb motherfucker. It's a valid question. What did you say? Why did you engage? Why did you say anything? So then they start asking other questions like, do you want to go? And I say, I'm going to take this question. No. We don't want to go. And I continue and I'm like, hey, you guys are out having a good time. We've been having a great time. Why ruin a night with a fight? I didn't know that was going to rhyme. So they bought this, probably the rhyme. They continued. I had negotiated this peace treaty, and they continued down the road. And I thought, all right, I don't know how that happened, but it happened. But a peace treaty is tenuous, and it requires commitment by both sides. So they said something, somebody said something. And Eric yells back, says, go back to high school! And I'm thinking, my heart sinks. And I think, dude, if they go back to high school, they're gonna take us with them. So they turn around and they come back and they're like, aggressive. And they surround Eric. And it's 8 guys around Eric. And it's bad. And Pete and I guess, could run away. But we were still dressed in our Chariots of Fire uniforms. It's probably just in slow motion. So you can't see a friend, with 8 guys. It's a pack of dogs on them. And I try to grab one guy off, and then of course, a fight is happening. 8 guys against us 3. One terrible fighter. Pete, he's been beat up a bunch. I always felt like, I'm not going to stand up here and say I'm bad in a fight. I'm okay in a fight. I grew up in this small farming community. We, fist fight and wrestle for fun. And so some muscle memory was coming back. And so I'm okay. I'm doing okay. There's 2 guys on top of me trying to put my face in the cement, but I'm doing okay. And I try, I build up all this energy and I burst up and I knock them off and I run down the street and I think, all right, got away. And I get down to the corner and I turn around and I see they're running away. So they had let me go. And I think, all right. Then I realize I'm bleeding. And not just a little, but I'm bleeding a lot. So apparently what had happened is that while these 2 guys are on top of me, a third guy reached in with a box cutter and cut the left side of my face. And he cut the temporal artery. So now I go down to a knee and my clothes are red. The sidewalk is red. There's a lot of blood coming. And all of a sudden, darkness starts to sort of come over my face from both sides. So it's like it's folding over me. And I had a moment where I said, all right, here it is. Do you believe in God? This is the moment. So my history with God is that I was baptized Catholic. I had this uncle who was this communist in Mexico, and he told me the virtues of atheism. For a long time, I hadn't fully committed to atheism. I had a friend, Pete actually, who I was with, like, talked me into going through confirmation in the Lutheran church. I was susceptible to anything. But I had a moment where, before this, where I said, you know, I guess, so I called myself agnostic. But then I had this moment where I thought, you know what, agnostic, what does that mean? You know, you either believe or you don't believe. Pick a side. And I picked atheism because I was young. You know, I mean, that's an easy decision. Young and carefree. So now, darkness folding over me. What are you going to do? Are you going to ditch atheism? Are you going to believe in God? This is what I said to myself, and vulgar, I know as it is, this is really what I said to myself. I said, don't be a pussy. You committed to atheism. Don't turn back now. That was it. I made that choice. As I made that choice, a hand comes on my shoulder, and a woman's voice says, come on, stand up. So at that point, the darkness started to go away. Unfold. And I looked up, and backlit, beautiful woman, saying, stand up, and brings me to my feet and says, there's an ambulance right there. And so she walks me to the ambulance. And so I walk down, you know, holding my head, bleeding everywhere. They get me into the ambulance. Lots of pressure on my head to try to stop the bleeding. Then I get to the hospital. There's a nurse, as I'm laying there, with all of her weight on top of my head, trying to stop, you know, at least slow the bleeding. I ask her, am I going to die? And she kind of laughed. Stupid question, right? In retrospect, maybe it was stupid. I don't know if it was a stupid question, but I was pretty scared, but I needed that confirmation that I wasn't going to die. And I kept getting, every time I was evaluated, I kept getting asked, can you raise your eyebrows? You know, which seems like that's a weird question. So every time I was asked, I would raise my eyebrows and pass that test. So the doctor comes, repairs the artery. I had lost 2.5 pints of blood, and but I was going to be okay. It took, you know, a month to regenerate the blood, and in that month I found out a bunch of things about everything that had happened. one of the things was 2 weeks prior, the city of Durango, where I was, changed where they dispatched the ambulances from. If it was from the original location 3 weeks ago, it would have taken like 20 to 30 minutes to get there. I probably would have bled out. The woman who got me to the ambulance was a cocktail waitress at the bar that I was at, who typically stayed late and would have drinks with her coworkers, wind down from the evening. She had decided not to stay. She was tired that night, and so she came out, saw the fight, called the ambulance. Pretty lucky. The reason why they were asking me to raise my eyebrows was because right along here, along with the temporal artery, are facial nerves that, if cut, never repair. So this side of my face would have sagged forever. So I sometimes still ask about God, whether he exists. I don't have a lot of physical, really any physical marks from that. I mean, I have a scar, but you can barely see it because the doctor that was on call that night was a plastic surgeon from Los Angeles. So I have all that, destiny and fate and everything. I mean, who plans that out? You know, were these instances that made me live and not be disfigured and everything, were they, in the theme of tonight, were they benevolent, quiet lightning bolts that was giving me another chance to believe? And I don't know. You know, I'm an atheist still. But I'm an imperfect atheist, a lot like there are religious people who question the existence of God as well, you know, but I'm from the other side, and, you know, they question their faith and everything, so I am an imperfect atheist. And some people might say that's agnostic, but I don't, because I'm no pussy. Thanks a lot.